People of the internet, welcome back to another video. It is I, Don Thomas, back in here with another one. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, folks. Got a video pulled up here. It comes from Fox Business, in which they entitled the video, "What is DeepSeek and how is it used?" Inside China's groundbreaking AI service. Now, of course, folks, if you're not familiar, DeepSeek is this app, of course, that ruffled the U.S. markets earlier today because it seemed to have surpassed ChatGPT. Of course, if you're familiar with ChatGPT, of course, this is the competitor to ChatGPT, but this one, DeepSeek, is China-owned. It's owned by China. Of course, we've been hearing about problems that, not necessarily problems, but speculations that have come with Chinese-owned apps. Again, ByteDance is the parent company of TikTok. We already know how that's been going. So it's interesting to me that DeepSeek seems to be now the #1 downloading app in the App Store, of course, as of today, as of the time of recording this video. So I want to get a little bit more insight. To be completely honest, I'm not as familiar. I've been hearing a little bit of headlines. I don't know if you're familiar, but we'll both watch this video. I'll share my thoughts. I encourage you guys to share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let's get into it.
One Chinese startup just launched a new AI model to rival OpenAI, and it is called DeepSeek. It's raising questions about U.S. dominance in artificial intelligence. Matt hasn't always been looking at this. First of all, what exactly does DeepSeek do?
Yeah, absolutely, Stu. So it's an AI model and has a corresponding chatbot like ChatGPT of OpenAI, and it has significantly narrowed the gap between the U.S. and China when it comes to artificial intelligence. DeepSeek is the brainchild of a small group of researchers working for a Chinese hedge fund manager that have been able to produce technology that is on par with OpenAI and Google, even though those companies are sinking billions of dollars and years into development. Meanwhile, DeepSeek did it for cheaper in a couple of months with fewer chips. So on January 20th, DeepSeek introduced R1. This is an AI model that reasons, so it can do complex problem solving. It thinks through the problem, essentially. Silicon Valley advisor to President Trump, Mark Andreessen, said, quote, "DeepSeek R1 is one of the most amazing and impressive breakthroughs I've ever seen. It's also open source." DeepSeek said training one of its latest models costs just $5.6 million. Compare that to the $100 million that Anthropic used last year. As a result, tech stocks dipping today. You see them all in the red there. DeepSeek's AI model has raised serious questions about American dominance in the space. It has rattled chip stocks because DeepSeek claims to have used just around 2,000 NVIDIA chips to train its V3 model. Compare that to the tens of thousands of chips used for U.S. models. But there are also questions around whether China is underreporting how much money and how much computing power they're using. Skepticism from Elon Musk as well. He says that there's no way they're able to do it with this amount of chips. DeepSeek's latest flagship model, V3, also won't answer political questions about China or Xi Jinping. And this is likely a similar setup to TikTok, right? When we talk about that issue. The concern there is that information used is sent to their servers in China. But this is an important distinction I want to get to. Because DeepSeek is open source, essentially it means that developers in the U.S. can use the code and programming locally on their computers if they have enough computing power. So that means that you can run it here without this concern of American data being sent to China. So the biggest concern is the eroding American share of the AI market. We are unseating U.S. dominance in the space. And I think we saw quickly a full screen. It's risen in the charts in terms of U.S. use, so much so that people are having issues accessing DeepSeek today because of how many downloads it has.
It's like a pivotal moment, isn't it?
Incredibly, there you have it. Incredibly pivotal. We are so far ahead of China before this news. That we were just miles, and now we're not. And then there's, as you've been mentioning throughout the morning, the concerns around how much money does this actually take? Yeah. Because we've been investing so much money, infrastructure, power, and China, DeepSeek, is claiming that they've really slashed that. So how does that work?
It's fascinating. I don't know how it works. I really don't know how it works. Good stuff, though.
So there you heard it, folks. DeepSeek, AI service that is a competitor to ChatGPT that seems to be more cost-effective and more proficient than the U.S.-owned ChatGPT. Now, of course, you know, depending on what circles you're in, maybe this is all fluid to you. Maybe you're familiar with some of this stuff as well, too. Maybe you're a user of DeepSeek or ChatGPT. But this was my first time, mind you, of course, folks, as I mentioned before, till this day, I don't think I've ever used ChatGPT, not once. I think I used it once I had an employer that I was working for a period of time. They had their own ChatGPT version. I maybe used it once, maybe. Till this day, I have never used ChatGPT. So I'm familiar, of course. Again, I have my gripes with all this technology, this, that, and the other. Because I feel like my ChatGPT is up here. My ChatGPT is Google. My ChatGPT is YouTube, right? But again, that's neither here nor there. But why is this a concern? Why should we be concerned, bro? What are you telling us? The narrative is China has surpassed us in this new AI service. And you know AI is the new way of the world right now. Everything is AI. You can't turn anywhere right now without hearing about AI to some degree. So this new concern is that, AI, we've already been hearing about TikTok. This kind of correlates with TikTok. You heard the lady mention it there as well, too. TikTok, of course, was a Chinese-owned company. There's still some back and forth. Maybe Trump bought themselves some time to be able to figure that out as well, too. But here basically is another Chinese-owned app that, as of the time of recording this video, looked to have been the #1 app under this sector. Of course, AI services, whatever the case is, in the App Store. More Americans were using it. We're leaving ChatGPT, or maybe turning to DeepSeek, I guess you can say, for their AI services as opposed to ChatGPT. You also heard that, of course, you saw the numbers there. This maybe takes 5.6 million. And again, that sounds like a fairly large number, but I guess in this space it's not as much, strangely. So the amount of money that it takes, the chips that it runs on, it just seems to be more proficient, more cheaper, more effective, I guess you could say, than the US-owned ChatGPT. And now people think that China has surpassed us in the AI race, which could maybe foreshadow other things down the line. Who knows? But here's my thoughts, folks. Off the little that I know, to be completely honest, I think China has surpassed us for some time in a lot of things. We know as a manufacturer, we know as a distributor, of course, all these things come from China. Our clothes, these technologies, these things that we get a lot of times. A lot of the items and the things that you use day to day were produced in China. So it doesn't really shock me that China has now produced an AI chatbot, whatever the case that you want to call it, that has seemed to be the equivalent, if not more, than what we're using here in America. In terms of the resources, I would agree that, okay, maybe, China's saying that it's costing them less and it's less chips, whatever the case. We're just going off of what they're saying. So yeah, they could say, oh, ours is better than yours and ours is cheaper than yours and this, that, and the other. That may or may not be true. But if the narrative out there that's being spread that, oh, we have a better app that's more proficient and more cheaper, and that you guys can essentially use as well too. We can use it here. It is open source. Open source just means, of course, it's open to other developers, I guess other users, whatever the case is, basically, without having to be in China or without having that Chinese jurisdiction. So if the narrative, again, whether this is true or false, whatever the case, if we're just going off of the narrative that China has produced something in the realm of AI that is better than ours here in the United States, you can see how some people will grow concerned. Also, in saying that, of course, just the stock markets, again, I'm not necessarily big on stocks and this, that, and the other, but the markets plummeted a lot. Of course, you saw the numbers because of this new technology that it kind of set our stock market here in the United States in shambles because of this new Chinese-owned AI service. Again, people are using AI for everything nowadays. People at their workplaces, people, recreationally. So just the optics, I guess you could say, here in America for China to have a foot up over us in AI services is raising alarms for a lot of different people. So my takeaway from this whole situation is this. Like I said, folks, I think China has been a lot more proficient in a lot of different things for some time. I don't think that's a reach in saying that. I think America has the things that we're good at, and I think China has the things that they're good at. And when it comes to technology, we already know how Japan is. I've been hearing that since I was a little kid, how Japan is maybe 10 years ahead of us in terms of this technology-wise. So you got China, Japan, this, that, and the other. We're not the only ones that are capable of producing these type of technologies, right? It'll be naive of us to assume that, oh, we're just the best in everything, and there's not other people that are not diligently working just as hard to master their crafts and master the things that they're working on. So it doesn't necessarily shock me personally to hear that China has maybe a leg up on us on AI technology in this specific field. Should we be concerned? Maybe. Because again, as I've been saying for some time, what can be used for good could also be used for evil. So if China has now developed some AI technologies that are just as good, and then even our own Americans are downloading this. Again, this app was available here in America for us to use as well too, and people rush to it. It's the #1 AI service app in the App Store as of this moment. What does that mean for other elements in our life? Again, politics and war and this, that, and the other, if this is the app that is now at the forefront. So very insightful, of course. I came across this today. I wasn't familiar with this. Again, I don't necessarily, I keep my ears to the streets, I guess you could say, as much as needed. I heard this a lot about the news today. Of course, DeepSeek. I saw what it was doing to the stock market. I heard the concerns that were coming from different people, this, that, and the other. So I kind of wanted to dive in it myself a little bit more. Educate myself, educate you guys, the viewer, so we can all formulate our thoughts collectively, right? But those are indeed my thoughts. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. What do you make of this new DeepSeek app? Have you used it? Are you a user of ChatGPT? What does it mean to you? Does it mean anything at all to you about this DeepSeek AI service that is now Chinese owned and seems to be surpassing us technology-wise here in the United States? Those are my thoughts. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. As always, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. I will catch you guys on the next one.